Marrakesh, eh? Hi, I'm Colin of Bosworth Property Marrakesh, and I'm welcoming to the Bosworth Property sofa today, Mr. Mike Wood. Hello, Mike.
Colin.
Good to see you again.
I'm good to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much for agreeing to come on our modest show this afternoon. You are a well-known personality in Marrakesh. You have a number of boutique Riad hotels, and you're also very well known as a philanthropist around the city. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What brought you to Marrakesh? What are you doing here now?
Oh, thank you for the kind introduction. So yeah, my name's Mike. My wife Lucy and I originally bought a holiday home here, actually, back in
the day.
Back in the day, and I'll tell you how far back it was. There was no direct flight from Marrakesh to London at that time.
Wow.
And so we started looking in about 2001. I think we finally bought in 2003, and renovated and had it open by 2006, 7. Mm-hmm. So we kind of accidentally bought a second, which brought some synergy. So when we were visiting, we were supervising 2 building projects, and yeah, that's how we got started. And originally, we had we'd have friends stay and family, and then friends of friends, and before you know it, you're running a hospitality business.
Absolutely.
And, which is the way a lot of people get started, I think, in the Medina. But we loved it, and our friends loved it, and we just really enjoyed the ride, really.
What's the name of your Riads now?
So the first Riad we opened was Riad Cinnamon.
Okay.
And we also had a house called Riad Papillon, which Colin helped us to sell during COVID. We currently have Riad Cinnamon, we have Riad Star, and we have Riad Spice.
The backstory to Riad Star is really fascinating, actually, because that was the home of Josephine Baker.
It was. I mean, so we didn't know that when we bought it, but we were house hunting, and we found this incredible combination of sort of Moroccan arches and traditional shapes with Art Deco, cedar, doors and this amazing 1930s Iraqi glass. In fact, you could date it because I think it was the blue that they only started to be able to produce in about 1934. So it was a real gem, and we didn't really understand the history until we started renovating it. It physically touches what's now the Museum of Marrakesh, but used to be the Menimbi Palace.
Yes.
And it was renovated in the 30s as a guest house for the sort of posh European guests so all sorts of people have stayed there. But most importantly, Josephine Baker, the Vaudeville star, stayed there during the war as a guest of the Pasha of Marrakesh.
Vaudeville star and American spy, it must be said.
Hero of the Resistance.
Absolutely.
So she has the Légion d'honneur and an amazing.
Yeah.
So we've actually got to know Josephine's family quite well, and she's absolutely inspirational figure. So I guess Brits are not so familiar with her, but French and Americans certainly would be. Yeah. So it's a great. I think all of these riads really, you are. You're more a custodian than an owner, but I think particularly with that one.
Fabulous. So obviously being a successful businessman here, you also are very socially aware, as I think all of us are here, of certain inequalities, let's say, certain things which we can help with. And you have a number of social outreach programs. You started Henna Cafe, which is an interesting one, quite some time ago.
Well, Henna Cafe was very much a group of people. It was some very good friends of ours called Sarah Corbett and her partner Sean, with my wife Lucy and I, and some others. So it's in the form of an association, it's a Moroccan charity, and we founded it. The others will tell you their story. Ours is that after there was an unfortunate terrorist incident in 2011 in the Henna Cafe in the square, and our business was actually thriving because we're, I guess, relatively good at what we do, and but the city was hungry. The arrivals were down, and tourism was in its infancy then, and times were really hard. And we just realised that we had to do more, for the community, and it wasn't enough to be looking at our own business and our own looking inward really. And so Henna Cafe was an outreach project, and we knew that people wanted henna, and the henna that was on offer in the square was positively dangerous. It was dark, mostly Indian patterns, run by a bit of a mafia, very unpleasant experience. And so we brought in traditional wedding akashas, and who hadn't got, many of them, an opportunity to use their skills and participate in tourism. And then we had a menu of very, very simple traditional foods, just things like a potato sandwich or things like clear, the dried lamb dish that Moroccans eat all the time, but tourists at that time anyway didn't have access to. So it was those combination of things that produced a nice little cafe that generated some money, which we used to do two things. Education was our main.
This was the one, yeah.
So there's a classroom at Henna Cafe, and for 15 years now, we've been doing 5 or 6 sessions a day in there, 50 or 60 locals coming in for languages, but also maths and other schools, baccalaureate subjects, and we'd have other people would do. Right now there's a poetry workshop in that space. So all sorts of things.
But what would the local youngsters, I presume, come in looking to learn? Would it mostly be languages?
Well, the interesting thing about that space is that we do get students of all ages, literally, from children to people in their 60s or 70s. And it's we deliberately design it as an informal space. So we get a lot of adult learners, people who, illiterate women coming in for Arabic, to learn to write Arabic calligraphy, and people who have not succeeded in a formal education setting for one reason or other. So it's set out with Berber stools in a circle. We don't use blackboards so much. It's a lot more oral learning. And the sort of rules of the game are no exams, no certificates, no tests, no consequence if you don't do your homework or whatever. So it makes it a very, people succeed in that environment who don't do so well in a more formal setting.
And is that just for local people, or could I go and learn Arabic there?
There is at 2 o'clock each afternoon. There's a drop-in Arabic session for tourists with a suggested donation of 20 dirhams, or just a couple of US dollars. And that's quite nice. One of the nice things about Henna Cafe is it's one of the few places where locals and tourists really mix, and
it's a cultural crossroads.
yeah, that's right. And so we've got this very inexpensive cafe, and the deal with the teachers is they get their taxi fare and they get given a free meal. So there'll be teachers and students and families hanging out. So it's a community centre really, and so we're very, very proud of it. And
very successful as well. I drive past there often on my little red Vespa, and I always love it. I've had some memorable days there as well.
It's a very small space actually. It's a very modest space, but we work it very hard.
You've recently retired as chairman of the British Moroccan Society. That's a different level of international collaboration, philanthropy, I suppose. Tell us a little bit about your role there.
So, the British Moroccan Society was founded back in I think the conception was in 1975, and the legal foundation was laid in 76. So it's literally in its 50th year. So celebrating its 50th year this year. And I've been a member for close to 30 years, but I've just finished a 5-year tour as chair. And the foundation of the society is diplomatic. So it was Ronald Bailey, who was a British ambassador, leaving Rabat, and His Majesty King Hassan II asked him to, find a way of creating civil society links between the two kingdoms. And
interface. Yeah.
So we've had the great honour and privilege of having an unbroken chain of British ambassadors in Rabat and Moroccan ambassadors in London as our patrons. So for that sort of 5 years, I had those as my two sort of advisors really, and so a lot of cultural events, raising some money and supporting a lot of small charities. So we have 300 or 400 members who have very deep roots in the local community here, and they will bring the sort of small charity that will benefit from a small donation. Could be £1,000, could be £2,000, but regularly, and then they'll be monitored by the member who introduced them. So we've got a good control, and the great thing about the BMS is it's got zero operating costs. So every single pound or dirham or whatever that it raises goes directly straight to the front line to the charities, and it's been very well supported by the Anglophone community here, and increasingly by businesses. And I have to thank Colin in that regard. And I think behind me there's a poster celebrating a charity walk which we did in 2024, which allowed us to build a school or learning centre for a village called Ijukak, very close to the epicenter of the earthquake.
Because of course you were involved very heavily in the British effort in the mountains following the 2023 earthquake.
Well, we became we started an public appeal very early, and within a week we had, I think, £150,000 in there, and we became a sort of focal point really for British and Anglophone donations. So we had a lot of, with the Lions in London, we did a big public collection. We did another which brought literally, I can't remember, 3 or 4 containers of tents and clothing and so on. We did a really amazing collaboration with the Outdoor Industries Association in the UK. The genesis of that was the Branson family. So Eve Branson was a very, Richard and Vanessa's mum was a very active member of our society before she sadly passed away. And Richard wrote to the Outdoor Industries Association, and they did an appeal. So these are sort of camping shops and the like, tents, and manufacturers who were, well, the original idea was that they would sort of send last year's stock or anything that they could, and there was a central collection point. And we did bring several containers of that. But what came out of it was a very generous donation from the Coleman family. Coleman, you might recognise that as a brand of camping equipment, particularly tents. They donated 2,000 tents to us. So, and we were, with the support of other charities, were able to bring those here. So at one stage we had literally 16,000 people living in accommodation that our little charity had
provided by the BMS at the end of the day. Yeah.
So we were very proud of that.
And also a very close collaboration with ISAR, the International Search and Rescue Operation.
Yeah. So there were so after the earthquake, Morocco had a huge variety of offers of assistance, and His Majesty chose to work with a small group of other kingdoms actually. So the Kingdom of Spain, Kingdom of
Jordan,
Qatar, and United Kingdom. So there was a British search and rescue team who came and did fantastic work here, and we've continued to have very good links with them. I'd have to say I felt a little bit uncomfortable talking about the earthquake because Marrakesh has moved on from that so comprehensively.
It does seem like ancient history, doesn't it? Yeah.
It feels like a long time, and the city is sort of booming, and it is wonderful how those communities in the Atlas are recovering. And I think that there's no doubt that the prosperity of the city is what is facilitating that, is driving it.
Absolutely. And so how do you see the next 3-4 years leading up to the World Cup? How is that going to go in Marrakesh?
Well, I think Marrakesh is, we have a 25-year perspective on it now. And it's been, as a Brit, I live in a country that's had a basically stagnant economy for the last 15 years. So to have 1 foot in there and 1 foot in an economy that's growing, or currently faster than China, is just extraordinary, And the energy and the sense of possibility and the sort of, the thriving cultural scene here is just, it's just fantastic.
Which brings us on to another one of your activities here, which is promoting culture in its various forms. Tell us about the Storytelling Festival and the Storytelling Cafe.
So my wife is is a counselling psychologist and a big believer in the healing power of storytelling. And having established the Henna venue for Marrakesh and done a lot of good with it, she had the vision to create a centre for storytelling.
Because Marrakesh, of course, is a world centre for oral storytelling, isn't it, with Jamal Fna?
And the square, because of the rising level of ambient noise in the square, it became, and also some changes in fashion and people watching TV and oral storytelling going out of fashion a bit, the storytellers left the square. So the vision was to create a storytelling cafe, which would be a venue, and we could train young storytellers and honour that sort of tradition. And that has been a pretty remarkable success. So we're building a physical storytelling centre when Marrakesh went into lockdown, going into COVID. There's nothing we shouldn't really talk about anymore, but it is part of our history. And we took our storytelling project online and repurposed or pivoted our hospitality business towards that. So our website guy was doing a storytelling website, our PR people were promoting it, and all the rest of it. And we had that was just an incredible success. So we managed to link, the technology was just about there to do sort of Zoom room performances and beam them around the world, and then we linked them up with a sort of payment button, which was driven by PayPal. And so we had storytellers in the mountains in Colombia or the Sahara Desert or the forest of Finland or whatever, who would do an online performance and make $20 or $30, which actually in some cases was more than they would have done if they'd been doing then. But this is a group of people who there was no furlough scheme for storytellers in the Arctic Circle, So it was very important to that community, and they built a lot of loyalty to us. And we've now had 3 editions of a Marrakesh International Storytelling Festival, which again honours that tradition. And our last edition we had 106 storytellers from 33
and broke
countries.
A world record.
And we broke a world record, the Guinness World Record, 4.5 days, night and day of continuous storytelling.
Absolutely amazing. I actually sat in on some of that in Jamal Fna. There was a nice tent set up and a good crowd in there. It was a lot of fun. And
thanks again to Colin, who has sponsored every one of the 3 editions of the festival, and it's a lot of 106 storytellers, a lot of mouths to feed. So we're very, very grateful for
thank you
for that. So Colin sponsored the opening dinner of the 3rd festival, and I think that we shouldn't underestimate the contribution that I think we all contribute in our own way. But Colin and Claire have been absolutely fantastic, and in the darkest period of lockdown, you did a fantastic project doing food hampers for families in the community in the part of the Medina where you live.
I don't know how you feel about it. I feel that Morocco has given me certainly so much opportunity that at some point it would be indecent almost not to put your hand in your pocket and to at least make an effort for the most disadvantaged and who are living around us on the same streets. It's they really are our neighbors. So I mean, how do you how do you weld or meld your philanthropic activities into your business activities?
Well, it's very interesting actually, because if you talk to a Moroccan, they wouldn't actually understand the concept of a philanthropic activity. So if I sat down with a Moroccan, and I had this experience, we've got 3 riads and then we have a charity cafe. What?
Why?
Yeah, 3 hotels and a cafe. So it's sort of inconceivable to them that the riads would not be giving a significant amount of their earnings to charity and to neighbours anyway. So the notion that you might compartmentalise it is utterly foreign, really.
Right.
And equally, the fact that the charity cafe is entirely charitable and we don't take a penny out of it or whatever is very difficult for them to get their heads around, really.
Yeah.
I think it just shows how deep the solidarity is in the community here, really. And that's one of the things that we love about it. I mean, much as we do love the architecture and we love the weather, it's the
community.
It's the people and the community around it that makes it. And I think, of course, the honour is definitely to the for the joy is in the giving, not the receiving, in all of these things.
Definitely, Mike. That's been a fascinating talk. 25 years already in Marrakesh. Unbelievable.
And I'm only 36.
Exactly, another 25 to go at least. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Lovely to see you, and I'm sure we will meet again soon. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Please leave any comments in the box below, and we will get back to you. Have a great weekend.
Okay.